Joining me now, we have Rick Stengel, MS Now political analyst and former Undersecretary of State in the Obama administration. I've got a few questions for you, but based on what we just heard from Inzamam there, when you have the president again, I'm going to say, saying, hey, the clock is ticking, you know, careful, better do something fast kind of thing. It's like the fourth time we've heard that. So what do you think that's about? Is the president reluctant to resume military strikes?
Alex, I would say that he is. I mean, he's a little bit like the boy who cried wolf, as you mentioned, having said this over and over. His way of negotiating is to go to the maximalist position, hoping that it would scare people to settle. But the Iranians have seen it before. I mean, the Iranians' calculation has been from the beginning that they can withstand more military pressure and economic pressure than the U.S. can withstand economic pressure and rising oil prices. That still is the case. In fact, they're still in a position where they almost don't need to do anything. The status quo, if Trump were to say, hey, this is over, we'll see you in 10 years, the Iranians would be happy about that. They actually don't need to negotiate. So, and in fact, what also happened in the last couple of days with President Trump is that he's given away certain positions that he could use to negotiate. For example, he said in an interview on Fox News that it's not necessary for the U.S. to get access to or confiscate U.S.'s uranium 900 pounds of uranium oil rich. I mean, so that instead of what he could use that for negotiating, he's already said that he's given it away. So I think he wants a deal, and it's always projection. He's projecting, saying the Iranians want a deal. He needs and wants a deal.
You know, you bring up what he said. As it happens, great minds thinking alike, because we have that exact soundbite, and I want to play it for everybody right now. Here it is.
It was hit so hard. I mean, the mountain literally collapsed on it, a granite mountain.
So why isn't that good
Just
enough?
so you know. Well,
I mean, if your goal was to set back.
It is good enough, but you know what? It's not good enough public relations-wise.
Public relations-wise, might he be considering risking U.S. boots on the ground to get uranium purely for PR purposes?
I hope not, Alex. And I think he's trying to discount the fact by saying it's not important. It's just a PR thing. So that means doesn't need that we need to get it. By the way, let me remind all of our viewers that in the Obama-Iran deal, the Iranians agreed to give up 90% of their enriched uranium, which was way a smaller amount, both in terms of the absolute deal and also the percentage. So that deal would be fantastic for Trump to have. Now, you could say, if Trump hadn't revealed that he doesn't necessarily want the uranium, he could say, look, I really need you guys to open up the Strait of Hormuz. And in exchange for that, I won't even take your uranium. How does that sound? He can't do that anymore. He's already given it away.
But he's also said from the get-go, Iran can never have a nuclear weapon. What is the epicenter of a nuclear weapon? Uranium.
But Alex, you know, one of the things in terms of his kind of false framing of things is this, and let me remind people, Iran does not have a nuclear weapon. They're not even close to a nuclear weapon. You know, they say they have 60% enriched uranium. You need 90% for a nuclear weapon. The status quo right now is they're not near a nuclear weapon, and they don't have ballistic missiles to deliver it outside of the region. So he makes it seem as though it's going to be a great victory when they say, OK, we're not going to aspire to create a nuclear weapon for military. We'll continue to enrich nuclear power for nuclear domestic power. And Trump will say that's a great deal. By the way, that was the status quo before he invaded Iran.
Okay, let's move to what all went down this week with Taiwan's president insisting that his country is already independent after Trump warned against formally declaring independence from China, and after Trump said a $14 billion U.S. weapons sale to Taiwan will now be left up to China. But then here's what Speaker Mike Johnson said today. Take a listen.
We've been wary of China's objectives there for quite some time. Of course, the U.S. military and every president has been watching this closely, and we continue to do so. I saw the statement from Taiwan. I thought that was a reasonable thing for the leader there to say. They've got to flex their muscle a little bit and declare again that they are an independent country and they must remain so. We have an interest in that, as, again, do all freedom-loving people around the world. China cannot just go take over land, and we're going to stand strong and resolute by that. I know the Congress will.
Is Trump headed for a showdown with Congress over this?
It's possible. And by the way, Alex, speaking of giving away another bargaining position, the fact that he also said in the last 2 days in one of the interviews that he might be willing to compromise about the amount of about weapons being sold to Tehran by the U.S., he's then giving that away to the Chinese who recognize that. The U.S. policy vis-a-vis Taiwan has not been a profile in courage ever since Ronald Reagan in 1982. We have this policy of strategic ambiguity where we do not say that Taiwan is an independent nation. We do not say that the U.S. would come to the defense of Taiwan. Obviously, they have been having discussions all over the years that American presidents, until Donald Trump, have said, look, yes, we will come to your aid. We will continue to sell nuclear weapons to you. But Trump is seemingly willing to compromise this and go too far. Even the Speaker of the House doesn't support what Trump is willing to do, which is kind of negotiate away the U.S. advantage.
Yeah. You know, Rick, this is becoming a thing. I'm very much enjoying it. I appreciate our conversations and appreciate you making the time. So I hope we'll do it again soon. Thank you.